Welcome to the Limitless Ladies Network podcast, where we are limitless in sharing lessons to advocate and drive insightful, empathetic self-care. The Limitless Ladies Network is dedicated to nourishing minds, educating on self-care, and facilitating transformative experiences. Our mission is to guide women to age with grace, cultivate good health, and build meaningful connections to bring happiness into their lives. We strive to empower the ladies of the community so they may successfully advocate for themselves and embrace a journey of holistic well-being. Please note that the information and opinions shared on this podcast are for educational purposes only and are not intended in any way to be used as medical advice. Please seek a medical professional for any health-related matters, and always refer to our full disclosure in our show notes. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Tammy Dungan of the Limitless Ladies Network podcast. And today I'm very excited to have with me Vanessa Spelman, Dr. Vanessa Spelman, sorry. She is a licensed clinical psychologist providing individual psychotherapy in both New York, Connecticut, and through PsycPact.
PsycPact.
Dr. Spelman has expertise working with parents, divorcees, artists, culturally diverse individuals, not culinary, people in interracial relationships, and women with a trauma history, which most of us in this lifetime have and prior lifetimes. But we'll delve into that. She loves to blend spiritual practices in her work as well as mindfulness and meditation. If you see yourself in any of these, then definitely look to book a consultation with Vanessa because she's just fabulous. So welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to delve into this conversation because I feel like I've been through it. And I know when we met, we've talked about going through the whole midlife dating scene again. And once you're married for so many years, how that transition can just be so tough for women, especially if you've been in a really long-term marriage or maybe you didn't go through divorce, but your spouse passed away unexpectedly, right? So it is just hard for women, I think, to get back out into that arena and put themselves out there and be vulnerable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So after any long-term relationship, how do you actually help women to clarify their non-negotiables? And we're just gonna dive right into their sexual preferences because I think that can be one of the biggest shockers as a woman who's again been in a long-term relationship and suddenly now you're with a completely different partner and you just don't know what the expectation is. So what do you suggest for them moving into that area, which is a very sensitive area?
Of course. So there's so many parts and pieces tapped in there. So I'll say, also as a shaman, pulling in the soul and how we connect with people on these deeper levels, right? And being in our bodies. So I think the first part is at this time, right? I started dating my ex-husband when I was 22. No dating apps, just met organically. So there's this catapulting into a completely different dating world. And so maybe in future generations, it won't feel so strange because people will have dated in this way prior to being in a relationship. But I think if you're around my age, you hadn't. So the shock of having to kind of curate images and vibes through this artificial medium, like a dating app is very strange. So I think just presenting yourself as you are, being authentic and across the board is one way that I would go. If you've had children, your body has changed. You're 20 years older than you were the last time you were trying to find a person to be with. There's this, I felt it was kind of like a you break it, you buy it idea, right? We get married, you met me in my 20s, you've seen the childbirth process, now you get this changed figure, and that's kind of part of the safety of the marriage. That's what I thought I was buying into. We were together for almost 20 years. So I think I had to come back into my body, spiritually and physically, so that I felt like I could connect with my own wants and needs and then meet a partner and explore those together. So for me, it was finding exercise that I like to do in this body again, finding clothes, colors, jewelry, hair, how I wanted to present myself and feel like me, at this stage. But there's also some books that I've read, one called The Ethical Slut, that's more about polyamory, which is not quite my vibe, but and there's another book called, I think it was Sprinkles on Top, that's more BDSM and kink, which is another angle, not for everybody, but there's a real open conversation that both of these books encourage with a partner, with your clothes on, not in the bedroom, where you go through what you give consent to, what you don't give consent to, what sex acts you're interested in exploring, what you have not explored yet, what is a hard no, how you communicate that no, how you communicate a yellow light. And I think that reading those books and having that concept of having this conversation prior to entering into the bedroom for me was really helpful to know what my boundaries were and then have a conversation and see how the person responded before we were in the heat of the moment and seeing how comfortable I felt even just talking about it. So, very long answer to your very interesting question. I'll stop there, Tammy.
No, those are really good suggestions though, because and I don't know if it's just the male's perspective, I'm sure, versus the woman's, right? Like we're looking for partners in life, and it seems like more so on the men's side, it's more of a physical attraction, right? They want to make sure that they're compatible with their mate in that aspect. I mean, of course, we want that too, but the priorities are a little bit different. So I know, in my experience, it was rough going from a marriage to, in one way it was exciting because, now you're out into this area and you have lots of possibilities, but at the same time, you don't know what you're delving into with somebody. And, I've had experience where those conversations were not had and it was sort of rushed into, right? And before you know it, you're like behind locked doors and you're like, this is nothing like what I was expecting this evening to turn out to, and you end up leaving like in complete shock. So I love the idea of having those conversations well in advance, right? And phone conversations, not through
Yeah.
text message where you
Yes.
don't get that
Phone,
visual
video.
on somebody, like are their eyes shifty?
Hmm.
Are there any little flags that we should be picking up on?
Yeah, just your comfort level and the responsiveness. And I think to your point, I think safety is really important. And I think that anybody who's dating in midlife should meet somebody for a vibe check in person with no commitment to anything happening afterwards to see how your body feels. Check in with yourself afterwards. Do you feel calm? Do you feel scared? Is it feeling in the pit of your stomach? Don't go out with any expectation that anything else will happen afterwards. Don't go home with somebody if you don't want to. And no is no. You can say no at any time throughout the night. Please go see your gynecologist, get tested, use condoms, all these really important safety things. Birth control is maybe a conversation you have to have for the first time in a long time. Um, so I think that there's ways that we need to, you're also like sharing your energy with someone,
Mm,
right?
yes,
And
like you
there's
can't
an
get that via
exchange.
text message or via, a dating app where you're completely separated from each other. You just don't have that physical energy to work off of.
You want to see how someone's hand feels on your skin, how their smile makes you feel. Is it lighthearted? Are they nice to people? Are they nasty and impatient? I mean, all of this really, I think, translates into like a feeling of safety and comfort and trust that you know that you feel comfortable with them in the outside world, so you can feel comfortable with them in a bedroom. And I don't think that, I think that's something you have to really not rush into and check yourself on. Um, it's very exciting and it's easy to feel like, this rush of freedom after maybe not having it for a long time. Some people feel really weird sleeping with someone else for the first time after being with a partner for a very long time. And it's almost like it's not cheating, but it kind of feels weird. And then you don't know how you're going to feel. And for some people, it's like liberating. And you get to try all these new things and experiment and be in your body. And, I'm preparing to give a talk in the fall. And one of the things I'm talking about is sexual wellness across a lifespan, and particularly for people who are divorced, like middle age. And one of the articles was talking about this idea called body esteem. The women's sexual satisfaction is very highly correlated to how they feel in their body. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, right? But I just loved having this word for it. So I really want women, without the pressure of being with a partner, being intimate, to really feel good in their skin, in this body, not 20 years ago, not the 10 years ago, not without the stretch marks, 10 pounds less, just really make this body feel beautiful in it, and then bring that energy out into the dating world, I think is such a nicer shift than like being preoccupied with the being the object of the male gaze. Rather, how do you want to put yourself out in the world, not how do you want a man to see you? I don't know.
And I think that's a very important point to make because most women, I think, are very self-conscious about that, right? Because you want to put your best face forward,
Of
but
course.
most are just not thinking about how do I feel? How do I love myself? And I
Hmm.
I really like that you suggested, what colors do I want to wear? How do I want my hair to be? Do I want to make any changes? Do I want to start exercising so that I feel better? That
Yes.
seems to go to the wayside because we're so worried about the facade and the face that we're putting out there to attract somebody that we forget that we need to be attracted to ourselves first
Oh,
because
yes.
that's important.
It is. And look, I mean, I bought some weird things to wear when I first got divorced because I was like, no one's going to tell me not to. So I was like, is this a teenager outfit or a 40 something? I'm going to make it a 40 something. So I just put
Right?
it on. But I got like the ugliest sneakers just because I knew like my ex couldn't say anything about them. And I wore them a few times and I was like, these are really not for me. But I tried it out. I experimented a little bit. So like maybe you want to wear a different eyeliner. I got some crazy glitter eyeliner from Sephora that is like my favorite thing that I own now, and I wear it all the time. And no one tells me not to, but there's this, it's how I feel lit up when I wear it, not how I think a man will see me in it, that I'm trying to pay more attention to. And I think that's this like divine feminine, this power, right? Is staying really focused on what makes you feel in touch with your sensuality. And sensuality is not just your body responding to someone in sex. It's, are you enjoying your meals? Is the feeling of the fabric you're wearing soft on your skin? Does your hair fall the way you want it to? And maybe, look, no one's perfect. And we're comparing ourselves to these ridiculous images that are half AI anyway. But
Right.
like a real woman in this body, if you walk out there with confidence, feeling good, and we don't throw out all of our clothes, you get like a great dress once in a while and play around with color and makeup, like I said. And then, you come back into yourself. And that is, I think, so attractive and so magnetic. And you walk holding yourself differently. That's what draws someone in with you and your power. You don't want to be meek, worrying about whether or not you'll be accepted. You want to feel beautiful and someone adds to your life. That's the vibes.
Absolutely, right? Because then our aura and our energy is going to be so much more positive and just broader, right? We're just going to give off that positive vibe that will, as you said, be a magnet to attract the right person that's going to see you exactly the way you are presenting yourself and what makes you feel most comfortable.
Absolutely. I agree. So I think that there's this just sometimes you have to feel the feelings, right? Like you can be mad, you can be angry, you can be bitter, but then you have to let it go because the only person who suffers from that is you. And then, there are times that I felt like this is so unfair to go back out into the dating world with this 40 something body that's been beat up by childbirth. But it's,
Right.
but like I started weightlifting this year and going back to yoga, and I just feel so strong and I'm not worried about what my body, the contours look like. I feel like really powerful.
Mhm.
And I love that. And I want more women to feel like that kind of power in who they are as a woman.
Yeah, exercise has a great way of just boosting our endorphins and making us feel so much more powerful and strong. I mean, that's what it's there for. Besides the
Yeah.
physical aspects of it, really helping us with our bone density and metabolism, it's just a fantastic way to make sure that we're moving easily through life.
Yeah, and I think that we, go to your doctor and figure out what movements work for you, right? If you
Right.
have health issues or injuries, but I think that most of us could walk a little bit, stretch a little bit, sit outside a little bit, small bursts, and I think that that movement helps us metabolize our feelings, and I think that translates into like how we process things when we're dating too. And time in nature, walking outside in nature, girl, that's the magic sauce.
It sure is. Anything
Yeah.
outside to just sit and listen, even if you're not
Yeah.
moving around, but obviously a walk is
Yeah.
fantastic, or a hike into the woods to be able to truly go deep in and just get lost there, right?
Yeah. And I think there's something about this, like when we're plugged in and we're dating, it's very overstimulating, right? So you're like, the apps were, I mean, there were times I just paused it because I just couldn't like deal with worrying about was there a match? Did they disappeared? Did someone message me? How long had it been? And I just found like being out in nature really helped me get grounded again and feel like connected to something bigger than me, the earth, nature, kind of put things in perspective. So I think if you just keep yourself in this frenzied, dysregulated state where you're constantly checking your phone and scrolling and thinking about how you measure up, it's very stressful and it's not fun. And it should be fun.
Yeah, it is definitely stressful, and it is just like an addiction, right? Because you, again,
Sure.
you want to be loved, but if you can get to that point where you're focusing more on yourself and what you can do for joy, right? Then again, those people will be attracted to you and doing the similar things that you already like to do. So it's kind of a
Right.
brainer.
Right. I mean, there was a talk I saw, Dr. Gabor Mate was talking about this, like acceptance and authenticity, and that so many women end up with really severe autoimmune issues later in life or health complications because they have not honored their no,
Oh, that's a great
that they have
statement.
overextended, they have pushed beyond, they have ignored their needs, and then at the end of their life, they're sitting there thinking like, but no one took care of me, right? I took care of everyone else.
Hmm.
And I don't want to go out like that. So, but there's this piece where he was talking about how acceptance is so powerful and we want so badly to be accepted that sometimes we forgo our authenticity. And this was another part of this conversation with women and overdoing and this autoimmune health issues. And I mean, I'm not going to get it all perfectly right, but I think that that concept really stuck with me that I don't want to be accepted for anything but exactly who I am. So I have to be exactly who I am in dating, in life, at work, in all these places, because I want to not have to perform. And people do really like me for exactly who I am. So why would I want to attract someone that isn't in love with my essence, in my like the interests I have? Like there's no reason. And I think we can all lean into that. Like we're already very interesting people.
Agreed. Um, Fantastic. I love that you need to be authentic because, again, sometimes we just, as women, we're generally the one that's doing all the things, right? And we put ourselves last, and that's not where we should be. We should be putting ourselves first so that we can tend to others. And it is hard to say no, right? And going back to like my generation, which is not too far off, but a little off from your generation, right? Is that we had to, step up and take care of the kids and do all these things. And saying no was not really something that was taught to us, I feel like. It was more like, okay, you just need to do these things, right? That's just how the parenting style was. That's how the society was. Like, you just kind of have to do these things, right? So it's hard for you to say no, or you get reprimanded for pushing back on something because people weren't taught the right ways to set their boundaries.
Mhm.
So, what are suggestions that you would have in order to set boundaries that is honoring yourself and your truth, but not being too like defensive to somebody to kind of put them off, right?
So in dating, or I mean, we can talk about boundaries everywhere, but
I
I
know.
I think that so I think what's interesting is I yes had a we're you look amazing by the way. We're not that far off, but I understand we've got like a decade between us probably at least. But there's my daughter was 2 when the pandemic hit. So I had this like return to like my ex-husband's job was busier, he made more money. So then I feel like I moved back to more of the role that my mom had, which was trying to juggle everything while the world shut down. And it really affected my career and life. And so starting to say no for me was getting divorced, setting boundaries. But I think that um, one of the things that I think about more now because I'm a single parent. I've got my daughter 85, 90% of the time. Her father's involved, very involved, but I care for her day to day. So I think about my energy and what's in the tank at the end of the day. Where did I overgive or overdo? Did I say yes to my daughter when she asked to watch 20 minutes more TV? And that means then that I don't have time to have my tea calmly at the end of the night and fold my laundry. That, because that's taking a toll on me, not being able to get myself to sleep at a good time. So I think for me, that's one of the concrete ways that like we have to end our day, wind down so we can both rest and feel recovered the next morning. So that's one place I set boundaries with my daughter. Try to be as clear and firm and kind about it. I think boundaries can be firm and flexible, right? I think so many people think it's like it's mean to set a boundary, but I think it actually makes people feel contained and safe because they know where the line is with you. So, with work, like I don't see patients after 4 o'clock because I'm with my daughter. I don't see them before 9 o'clock because I'm dropping her off where she needs to go. And I want to be a mother that knows what the end of the day is like. I want to make her food when I can. Um, I want to be present with her day to day. So I set limits with my work hours around that. It is frustrating. Sometimes it doesn't feel smooth, but it's allowing me to be present with her in the way I want to be while she's young and still wants me to be around. Um, and with love, I think, with dating, I don't have a lot of time. So it has to really be worth it for me to give
Mm.
you an evening, an afternoon, a morning, right? So I like to text to a phone call to a video chat to see if there is a connection. Does the conversation flow? Are they nice? Do they insult you? I've had people say really horrible, insulting shit to me over, sorry for cursing,
Oh,
through
I get it.
yeah, like through like either dating apps, texting, or video, and it's like shocking to hear what men will say to you. Like the
I know it's
audacity.
like they're so privileged still, almost like when they get divorced that they're like, okay, like I get to go out and all these women are just going to be drawn to me because I'm this great guy.
No,
And
sir.
no, like then I think I'm hoping that they get like a reality check that women are just today not putting up with that as they shouldn't.
It's got to be worth more than my peace to spend time with you because
Yeah.
I have a very calm life. I love where I live. I love my kid. I love my friends. And I love what I do in my spare time. So for me, like if it doesn't add to it, it's taking away. And that's the boundary. So if you find, and I think some of this is like you have to practice a little bit, not expect that you're going to have it quite down pat in the beginning. So you go on a first date. Did you feel exhausted at the end? Did you say yes to something you didn't really want to do? Did you stay out later than you wanted to? Did you really want to be home in your pajamas at 9 o'clock, but you said yes to dinner at 8?
Mm.
Maybe you should have said, so something someone in my life has asked me is like, are you abandoning yourself on this
It's a
date?
good
Are you
question to
abandoning
ask.
yourself in the evening? And I was like, ooh, I did abandon myself because I said yes to like a little more time and it was a little later and I was tired and I knew I wanted to go home. So I think this, for me, this idea of like, where is the energy flowing and coming back in? Is it reciprocal? Is it a drain? Helps me be clear about the boundaries that I need to set. And I understand that like I could set them here and need to adjust them later, depending on my kid's age or her activities or my work schedule changing. Um, but I think we, if you've abandoned yourself in your marriage, then getting back in touch with the feeling in your gut that tells you F yes, F no, then I think you need some practice. Like, do you love pistachio ice cream? Because I'll tell you, girl, I love pistachio ice cream. So, like, so there's this reacquaintance with joy and with what lights you up and what feels good, right? Like, I'd rather go to the beach than do almost anything else. So, I will say no to just about anything if it means I get to go to the beach. So, but I think you don't know that unless you get to know yourself again out of your
Yeah.
marriage.
And I think it's an experiment, right? Just
Sure.
treat it all as an adventure each day
Love
to
that.
see what things you like and don't like. And
Yeah.
by the way, I love maple walnut ice cream is like my
Ooh.
all-time go-to. Chunky
Okay.
Monkey, we're talking like it's hard to resist.
I mean, but I think that that lit up joy, right, or the depleted tired is a place where we figure out where the lines need to be to preserve and protect,
Mm-hmm.
because we need to give back to ourselves to give to others. And again, if you have limited time, like maybe, Saturday night doesn't work for you, but like a lunch date is great. And you just have to accept like that's the time I have to offer. It works for you, it doesn't.
Right, right. All right. So finally, I want to ask you, moving forward for women that are totally afraid of making the wrong choice again, because we all have that fear, right? We've done it once and we're like, okay, we've gone through divorce. Could be good, could be bad, depends on your experience, but yet it almost feels like a failure, or it could, right?
Mhm.
So what one piece of advice would you give to women as like determining fundamental, are they compatible or not compatible within like the first 30 days? Like, what would be that one thing that you would say, yep, this isn't going to work? And how would they be able to determine? Like, is there one particular kind of key thing that you would say, like, hey, this could be a red flag, like they're not compatible?
So, that's such a good question. One thing, I feel like that are you abandoning yourself question is what came to mind. And I think there's a little voice inside, if you've ever done this before, I have, where you say like, oh, that's okay, I didn't really want to, or like, oh no, I didn't. That is that abandonment in action. And
Mm,
if you find that you are feeling a little crestfallen, a little disappointed, a little sad, a little disappointed, that's not the vibe. Um, I do think that, people go back and forth with like, how much time should you wait? Can you be healed? Like, I think that some parts of you are healed in relationship with someone else. And I don't know that you're going to be able to work out all the landmines of your trauma and disappointment and pain with your ex before you re enter the dating world. I think it's pretty impossible.
right.
But I also think that the thing that would be like the yes or the no here is that are you abandoning yourself piece? Like, does a part of you come up that's a hurt part? And is it treated with kindness? Or
Mm,
are you saying like, oh, it's okay, he didn't text me back because he really was busy and he didn't, but I didn't hear from him for 3 days, but that's okay because da da da. No, that little voice that tells you to excuse bad behavior or excuse disappointment, if that's up and talking, I would say this is probably not the one.
yeah, it's that listen to your intuition, whether that be that little voice in your head that is that, little devil or angel on your shoulder almost, right? To kind of give you
Yeah.
those vibes. Or to me, maybe your gut instinct. If you don't hear back or they say something to you or text you something and like your gut feels a little off, then you should probably question that, because I too have had that experience and it was like, yep, you call and the hairs go up on the back of your neck from something that's said, and you're like, okay, yep, why did I not pay attention to that, right?
Yeah.
So
And
it's getting in tune with that.
I think that, and to that point, sorry to interrupt you, but that like don't chase people that don't want to be chased. Okay.
Mm,
Because I think this is another place where we abandon ourselves.
yep.
It should be very clear that they want to spend time with you. And this is another way we abandon ourselves in that, like, because you're chasing that, wondering if maybe it'll feel different the next time or it'll feel better the next time, or maybe making excuses. No, no. I think that if you go out on, I've gone on like a date or two that I thought went really well and never heard from the person ever again. And I was just like, all right, universe, I guess that wasn't the one.
Right.
So I think you have to be grateful for the release when it happens and trust that, like, you don't need to abandon yourself to chase someone who doesn't want you to chase them.
Right. It's holding true to your own values again and what will bring you joy.
Hmm. And your worth.
Sometimes the universe steps in and says, hey, you know what? This one's not for you. So we just swipe left or right. I forget which way it goes.
I mean, now we're Xing and we're Oing and we're doing things and we're hearting and doing, whatever. But I think it's just letting that flow and trusting that there's some wisdom behind when things don't work out and when they do. But if your little voice is telling you like this is not the one, or they don't have a quality or whatever. And I think these lists and these checklists, people make themselves nuts. I think of the way you want to live your life. Are you an active, fit person? Do you love video games? Does one person want to cruise? Does someone else want to walk, the Himalayas? Like
Mm,
those are big differences and lifestyle. And I think you have to pay attention to that because like you don't want to be in a position where you're trying to tell someone that they should work out more, exercise, or do things if they're just not. I think that that is one lifestyle difference that I see as you age really create a schism between people who love movement and people who are just not as in love with it.
Yeah.
And no shame or judgment. Some people just like a gentle thing, and other people want to be like hiking into their 70s. And you just have to know which lane you're in.
Right. And it's okay if somebody
Yeah.
else wants to do something completely different than you because that's their passion, but maybe you go do your separate things, right? I mean, there's plenty of
Yes.
guys that do golf and women go out on their trips to do things, right?
Yep.
So it's okay to have that separate time from each other to do your passionate things and then come back and share that because it doesn't always have to be a togetherness for 24/7 either. You actually need that time to yourself, again, self-love,
Yeah.
to do certain things. So it's kind of finding that fine line.
Sure. I think having Esther Perel says that fire needs oxygen. And I think that she talks about like some space between two people for there to be desire. And so I think about that a lot when I talk to people that are in relationships in my work. Like having everything the same is not always a good thing because you want to learn from each other. You want to have your own independent passions and interests, absolutely. But I think that you don't want to feel like you have to forgo what you love to meet someone else's need or show up. You know, it's this
Right.
balance of respecting each other's interests and passions and pursuing those too. So yeah, there's so much that comes into this togetherness, right? But I think not abandoning yourself is really a great question to keep at the front.
Absolutely. I like it.
Yeah.
So this was great, Vanessa. Thank you so much for joining us today and talking in depth about relationships, setting boundaries, having that very intimate and needed conversation about sex and compatibility because that is a key one. We have to be compatible on that aspect. So tell us, where can our listeners find you if they want to connect with you in terms of any relationship questions that they have or your shamanic experiences?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. So I'm on Instagram at vanessa.spelman.psyd, P-S-Y-D. I'm on the TikTok. I'm on the Facebook. You can find me on Threads. My website, email is drv@drspelman.com. So just come and hang out in my corner of the internet.
Excellent. Thanks again for joining us today. And for all of our listeners, of course, click the bell. You want to subscribe so that you can hear when our next episode drops, and follow us on Facebook as well, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, and sign up for our email list as well. And you can go to limitlessladiesnetwork.com for that, and also check out our events. I'm also available to do some wellness training on sleep, stress, and self-care, which we talked a little bit about today, and doing some women's wellness retreats too. So
Yay.
check us out.
Thank you.
Thank you.